Today we're going to make a fake stained glass ornament using epoxy resin and a 3D printed template. Welcome to andysartlab, where I make things from resin. I originally sketched this design on my iPad and then turned it into a vector which I was able to bring into Tinkercad. From Tinkercad I was then able to export it as an STL file, which is what you need to be able to 3D print. In Cura here, this is my 3D printing settings, and it actually took a while to print this. It was a good sort of 4 hours or so to print this design. If you have a 3D printer yourself, or if you know someone who does, then I'll link this STL file in the description below so you can go and print out this design yourself and give it a go in making this fake stained glass with resin. The next stage in the process is to get our 3D printed design, and we want to stick this down so we can put resin into it to fill in these gaps. Now what I used here was some vinyl on some cardboard. So the vinyl is essentially that stuff that you use to cover kids' exercise books, and I just sort of put that down on a piece of cardboard. And the idea here was that I was going to coat the plastic in resin and then stick it down. The idea was really to wait until the next day, but I actually mixed up far too much resin, and so I got impatient and didn't want to waste the resin, so I started filling it up already from this excess resin that I had from trying to stick it down onto the vinyl. So here's the part of the process that takes the longest, and that's filling in all these different voids with clear or coloured resin. So I wanted to do a clear resin in the large open pieces because resin takes on the properties of the surface it's poured onto. In this case it is a matte vinyl, and so I was quite keen to see what that clear would come out like using a matte vinyl backing. These big open spaces are pretty easy to use a cup to just pour your resin into and judge the depth of it. However, once you start getting into the smaller chambers, then you need a bit more precision, and so that's where I've used some little pipettes. They're cool, effectively just suck up the resin and then you can sort of push it out. A bit like a syringe, but a bit cheaper, and since these aren't really reusable, they're kind of a cheap one-use sort of tool. To colour the resin I've used alcohol ink, and the reason I've done that is it gives a translucent colour. If you used a pigment paste, for example, it would be opaque and you wouldn't be able to see through it, wouldn't let any light through, whereas using alcohol ink means that I can make it sort of see-through and give that stained glass effect. So at this stage I actually let this dry because blue is a colour that I didn't really want to get mixed in with any of the clear if any accidents happened, and that way if I did drop any now I could just wipe it off that resin because it's cured. So just around the edges here, mixed up my blue, using that pipette and getting around there, getting that all filled in. Alright, so sticking this to the vinyl is either going to be a very good idea or a silly one. Okay, so got a bit of trimming to do around the outside. It's given a quite clear coat down the bottom. I'm going to go around and do that, give that a trim. I'm just using my trusty deburring tool here, and we're going to go around and just clean that up a little. And here we go, the finished product. I'm really pleased with how this came out. That clear did have that matte finish that came from the back of the vinyl, so that came through, which gave it a cool little matte effect. You can still see through it, but it's a little bit opaque. The colours, even though not very deep, still give that translucent effect, and so you can see through. I wasn't able to angle this so that you could get colour coming from the sun then down onto the ground, but maybe I just need to wait for a day where it's a bit sunnier to be able to give that a try. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you aren't already, and we'll see you next time, so keep creating.